of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Director Brown absent. Director Blake.
Here.
Director Baskin.
Here. Thank you, Allison. Can we get everyone's microphones? Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held May 9th, 2024. I've reviewed the minutes, but we'll be back in the time. I'll second. We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor?
I cannot vote on it because I was not here.
Good. Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only one I know about is the executive committee. I don't know if there were other meetings I wasn't privy to. And for the general manager's report, item number 3, we had a tabletop exercise on Wednesday with county fire, city fire, elderly police, county emergency services, and sheriff and BOMAR. We're all there.
Thank you. So moving on to item number 4 then, since you just gave us the general manager report. Manager of Finance and Administration report.
I provided the manager for your review and approval.
I have done a motion to approve it.
We have a motion. Wait for a second. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
The financial statements are informational only unless you have questions. The budget deviation needs to be approved by the board. I've outlined each item and where the reason for the overage. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
What was the reason for the overage?
Well, the shops closed over because we were burglarized. So we received some insurance money, but not completely. We had a storm drain by the Radisson that was blocked. So we jetted that and replaced part of the controls in the basin. And then we also got drainage maintenance land, drainage maintenance FBO. We haven't spent any money in the FBO area to date. So I reduced that to cover the overage for the land. We replaced the fire trucks, the ARC truck tires, which is a big expense we didn't expect, a major repair on automobiles and heavy equipment. We have a new accounting system and we are still getting used to the fact that we don't have a heavy equipment and an automobile maintenance item. So we corrected that here and we corrected it for next year. Some of the dues that increased, well, all of the dues increased. We take year to date and then we use for next year. And if we aren't aware of an increase, we don't include it in the budget. So, and then the big expense in consulting administrative was the SDS contract that the board signed. So, for that.
I make the motion to approve the budget deviation. We have a motion. I'll second it. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be varied during public session. Requests to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the offices of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. With that being said, first one up, we have Kevin Yates.
I had requested to be part of the discussion for agenda item number 7. Is this?
All right, nice. I can go off on that. Moving on to the first general. We have one with no name on it. But they would like to know if consideration has been given to their request.
That was me, I'm sorry, Joe, Brandon. Yeah, well, simply I was hoping I had a chance, if we're going to have a chance to read information of it. The last meeting regarding possibly getting some relief from 902.
I believe this is, an item that we need to be agendized.
Let's go ahead and add to the next. We'll look into it.
Very much.
Moving on to the next person, we have Joseph.
Yes, Cronin? Yeah. Chairman, board, staff, Joe Cronin, hangar tenant. I just want to reiterate what I said last time about the annual increases. I think, we need to really work together, try to get something more fair and equitable. And, it would be very much appreciated if we would work as a community here and work together, get something reasonable that promotes general aviation and commercial aviation here. So that's basically what I have to say. I know 902 is going to be discussed at a later date, right? So is there going to be a committee that I can get on and discuss also with you?
So typically, we're not supposed to answer questions, but I believe there's some members of the committee, that will be discussed.
Okay, that's all I got to say. Let's promote general aviation. Let's get something reasonable, guys. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Renee.
Members of the board. Members, Damon Harrison, Wampo, California. I got hangar 3029F, of which most of you have been to previously. I think it's important that we have some type of rapport between your group and our group. Last meeting, the conduct of Mr. Michael Clayton was very unbecoming any board member that I've ever seen in my life. Very, very unprofessional. And I would like to see the roll call on his. First off, I'd like to see him resign from the board. Second of all, if he doesn't, then I would like to see a full roll call being called and everybody's name documented. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's all I have for general, so moving on. We have item number 6, presentation by John Smith, Cartel Engineering, providing an update of airport improvement progress.
Thank you, Board President, members of the board, John Smith, Cartel Engineering. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. As you know, I've been involved with the airport for a few years. And intend to be intimately aware and familiar with the rehabilitation and maintenance that goes on at the facility. Denver Airport is a rather large asset, and it commands a respectable maintenance program to support it. Historically, funding operations that you've received have come from federal grants, and those tend to focus on the airfield facilities, not on the building. The airfield facilities tend to be a major portion of that asset. It's understood that the programs will be reactivated in the near future, your grant program, which would be fantastic, based on a resolution of some outstanding issues. My partner Jason Hargraves and I are going to present some current and recently completed maintenance and rehabilitation efforts, just so you're aware of what's going on, and so the members of the here are as well. Pleasure. That work? There we go. The first project I'd like to talk about is the main hangar drainage repair. Don't get me from behind. Pavements in proximity to to both ends of the main hangar, have started to, trap water and hold water up against the door track. And, during heavy rain events, such as we've had in the last winter and certainly the winter before, now water is built up so much that it's now starting to flow into the hangars themselves. The goal of the project is to mitigate that problem and, mitigating it through the installation of slotted drain across the frontage of both door tracks on both the south side and the north side, about 300 feet of slotted drain. Each system connected to a storm drain, which then directs the runoff for the water out into an existing system out in the parking lot. The estimated cost for the project is about $180,000. And the status of the project, where it is today, topographic surveys in progress, and design is pending. And we anticipate, in talking to the tenant, we anticipate public bidding in August with the goal to have the improvements complete before the rains come at the end of the year. You can see those pictures were from last year. Jason's gonna take over from here.
Yeah.
Jason Hargreaves, I'm with Artai Engineering. We have about a dozen projects we want to talk to you guys about tonight, so bear with us. Projects, pretty diverse in scope, as you'll see. So the next project we want to discuss is the recently completed, rehab parallel connecting taxiways project. This is phase one of a multi-phase project. The project entails reconstructing and realigning a portion of Alpha, in addition to reconstructing and reconfiguring A7, A8, and taxiway B and W. And you can see in image 3 over there, how we realign the taxiway connectors. So they're 90 degrees coming into the runway, which is the new FAA standard. During the project, we had one minor hiccup, that was attributed to Southern California Gas underground utility that was discovered during construction, not discovered, but the actual cover was extremely shallow. We had about a month delay, but after that delay, we concluded the project in December. The project is now wrapped up within contract time and under budget. Moving on to the next project, which is really just the continuation of the recently completed project. We're calling it Rehab Taxiway Alpha and Connecting Taxiway U. Hopefully underway as early as this summer. The project will get the rehabilitation effort past Taxiway Uniform and all the way to Taxiway Tango, as you can see in that image there. We'll have a phase or two after this to complete the overall parallel connecting taxiway project. This project will be slightly smaller than the first phase, but it's no small undertaking. Estimated cost of $5.8 million. We have designed the project. We're ready to go out to bid. Right now, we're waiting on the FAA to give us the authority to do so. And moving on.
Sure.
Mayor,
Thank you, Jason.
I'd like to ask a quick question. What's the gross weight of the aircraft, maximum gross weight of the aircraft, that this will handle when you're done?
The DC-10 is a design aircraft. It's 450,000 pounds.
How about heavier aircraft? Because that's less than the normal DC-10 weight when it's fully loaded with passengers and other things. That's about the weight of the firefighting DC-10 because they go off of little fuel. But
That's the max weight of the aircraft. So with passengers or fuel, it cannot exceed 450,000.
okay, I was given a higher number, but that's from the pilot, so. But any chance of what would it take to upgrade that to handle 747?
I can't answer that right now. We can look into it.
I think it'd be a good idea because there's aircraft the size of 747, which are close to 1 million pounds of gross takeoff weight, landing weights lighter, obviously.
But it'd be nice to know if we in emergencies could handle that size of aircraft or C-5A or something like that. That would just be artificially limited while we're doing something, they go better at handling in case of emergency, bigger aircraft. That's just my thoughts.
No, absolutely, that's a good idea. And wheel configuration of the DC-10 is pretty rigorous, so it may in fact be able to handle those larger aircraft just because it's a heavier weight. Typically, they'll just increase the number of landing gear wheels and the damage on the pavement's not.
I think the actual footprint pressures per square foot or square inch is about the same, but it'd be nice to check it out. Because it's very little more to be prepared for bigger things, be nice to do so, Mike.
Absolutely, good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. To the board members, question also about design weight. The design aircraft is to be substantiated by an aircraft that does exceed 500 operations a year for a period of 5 years. And for San Diego Airport, your design aircraft is the DC-10 at 1,000 pounds. The next project we're going to talk about is the hangar complex paving rehab phase 2. Intended to be a continuation of the 2021 project where we did some improvements to the pavement out around the hangar complex, the historic hangar complex. And this will be a continuation, taking that same effort and moving it to the northwest around the next series of hangars. The project is designed, it's ready to go. The district was prepared to fund that 100%. Taxi lanes really scored low when it comes to competitive funding with FAA grants, but we were able to get a commitment from the FAA to fund this through a grant. And so we've somewhat paused. And now that is somewhat in limbo, along with a couple other things. So again, with several of these projects, we are ready to proceed with public bidding within about 30 to 45 days when instructed to do so. We estimate the cost of this project at about $1.2 million. The project would include localized removal and reconstruction of some failed areas, further installation of concrete drip aprons along the hangar door tracks to preserve that asphalt and reduce the raveling and the spalling of the asphalt from the drips off the roof, and then slurry seal on the pavement.
So is this a grant funded project?
Right now, all your grant funded projects are on hold. And so, you as the airport decides whether you can wait or if you need to go forward. If you go forward, it's yours. You're gonna hear that on quite a few of these. The next project. There it is.
Let me ask you a question on this one real quick.
Sure.
You said you've got to move the ILS, remove the ILS and install
On,
it. Did you mention that you're removing the ILS during this project? Or
No,
not
sir.
just here? Okay, then disregard the question.
no problem. Sometimes I'm garbled when I'm speaking.
Sometimes I hear it, not so good.
Oh, we gotta get together. The next project is the U.S. Customs remodel. The project includes quite a bit of upgrades inside the building and exterior. It also includes some upgrades to the parking lot and the ADA path of travel from the front door out to the parking lot. Well, in addition to that, we will be establishing a couple of secured boxes for aircraft to park in out on the apron while they are going through their clearance process. The project has been in progress for a little over a year. We've been working with the Customs and Border Protection, nice group of people. The project design is done, the permits are issued, the project went through public bidding, we have contracts in place, and we are probably about 2 weeks from starting the demolition and improvements to the building. The goal on this project is to have this ready for occupancy somewhere around the end of the year. The project, the building, at one time in its past, it's been three or four different occupancies over the years. At one time in its past, it was a customs building. It's interesting in bringing it back to a customs building in 2024, we're hit the head twice. One is California building code standards have changed quite a bit since it was a customs building. And secondly, quite candidly, not exactly sure how it's conditioned, was actually an approved customs building in the past. There are many deficiencies that came to light in the design process. So, here we are. It is, the approximate, project cost for this, upgrade is $930,000. And that again is based on the bids received for the room.
Good comment on that one. Sometime you want 3 cups of coffee and something else, adult beverage, I'll tell you more of the background history of DC regarding this building and the politics of 2 governors and other things. That may be a little minor comic book for a while for you, but I'm glad to see this thing going fast.
I think it's gonna be a wonderful asset to the airport and also to the central coast.
Okay, next project. This project came about because of an FAA inspection last year. Rick got a 2 or 3 page letter from the FAA with a number of issues to address on the airport. This project is going to be relocating the beacon. Currently, your beacon's on the main hangar. It's somewhere in that image on the top. It's shielded. It's shielded because it blinds the FAA up in the air traffic control tower. The project is going to be to relocate the beacon to the air traffic control tower on the top. The tower is owned by the FAA, but they're on board. And they said we can relocate the beacon there. We had a few site walks, me and Rick, after a site investigation. I was surprised to find out that the power that goes to the air traffic control tower does not have a backup generator.
Wow.
And the FAA requires a backup power for the beacon. So it may sound like a simple project, but we are gonna have to run some underground infrastructure from the vault to the tower. We can put that on a backup generator.
Backup power in the tower right now is a few batteries and flashlight.
Yep. So we're still in the design phase on that project. So we'll be ready to go out to bid hopefully this summer. The next project is a little bit more exciting. Back in November, I was here at the board meeting describing the emergency repair project on the runway. This was accomplished using the emergency contracting procedures. This was another project that was flagged on the FAA's inspection last year. The project included crack repair and all the longitudinal joints on the runway, followed by remarking the entire runway. All the contract work is complete. We're still negotiating with the contractor to possibly do a seal on the center portion on the runway 30N to address some of the friction. I know pilots have been addressing that to the airport. And so that's something we're considering, just finalizing pricing, and then we'll bring it back to the board.
I'm gonna ask you a question on that.
Absolutely.
Some of the military jet operators here complained about excess tire damage with this repair. Will that fix that problem?
It's gonna help,
Okay.
not fix, but it will, yes. Yeah, that's the idea of doing it. It's called P608. It's an emulsion, to essentially reduce the friction a little bit to help the tires last a little bit longer. The next project is runway 1230 again, but, a little bit more in depth, and John will talk about that.
So, runway 1230. Current structure was completed in 1992. I inspected that project. It was under George Bush stimulus grant. That was George numero uno. We overlaid the runway, it's held, it's passed, it's at least 10 years past its service life. As evident by that photo is a close-up of the surface of the runways. Those are the grooves, and you can see the spalling, which is generating FOD and creating some of those issues that the board member referred to with regards to concern about FOD and things like that. So about 3 years ago, when we were doing the taxiway rehabilitation phase 1 that Jason spoke about, it was quite a complicated process to get that from finished paper to actually pavement. We ended up bidding the project 3 times based on a different direction from the FAA, change the position of the FAA, change the direction from the FAA. During one of those change of directions, it was, hey, just push it back and do it next year. And at the time, the district's response, supported by Tartaglia, was no, next year we're doing the runway. We have to do the runway. And then the response was, push the taxiway back and we'll throw the runway in. Wow, that's an $11 million toss. So we ran with it. So the runway rehab for 1129 is designed. It's about 90% design. We scrambled, we did the geotech, we did the topographic survey, we did the plans and specs. And then when it came time to bid, they said, well, what's this? It's now the taxiway reconfiguration and rehabilitation of 1230. So it is ready to go. It's in desperate need. Highland House would agree to 1230 is attention. It's pretty bad. The project would include certainly grinding off the groove surface, the friction element, a variable overlay layer followed by a uniform thickness cap, and then regroove and remarkings. More than likely, there'll end up being some level of electrical work. There always is, edge lights or guidance signs or something like that. And as I mentioned, we do estimate the cost of that project at $11.7 million. Gosh. The next project on the list is the main hangar roof. The roof on the main hangar is about 15 years beyond its design life. There are two roof systems on the building. 2 is the maximum you're allowed. So the plan is to remove both systems, and once the roof is off, to go in and do some localized R&R of the support deck that you can see when you're in the hangar. You look up, you can see the tongue and groove wood. Some of that is rotted, some of that is shot. So we will be doing localized removal and replacement of that, and then we'll be installing a new Tremco type system on the roof, making it all complete, along with new gutters, new downspouts. The technical specs are done on that. We're packaging up the front end, the boilerplate, the contract documents. On that project, we can be ready to go out for public bidding in about 2 weeks. And the estimated cost of that is $1.1 million. The goal on this project also, like the drainage project, is to have it completed by the end of October. The roof project is not going to be an easy thing, because part of that time is going to be to provide some coordination with the tenants for interruptions in their operations, especially based on what goes on in that building. It's a quasi-sterile space, or intended to be, and I think that's going to be compromised during the construction process. That could add time, but again, the goal would be for everybody as part of this team to have it all done before it starts to rain. We got more.
Next project we're going to discuss is phase 3 of the terminal apron reconstruction. Terminal apron phase 3 is the last and smallest phase of the apron project. And similar to what we did in 2013, 2016, phase 1 and 2, this is going to be a concrete apron reconstruction. Estimated cost of this project is $4.5 million to be funded in part by an FAA grant. The environmental approval is holding up this project, but the design's done and ready to go out to bid.
Another comment from the white people board here.
Absolutely.
I have to give kudos to Chris Hester, the former general manager here, how we planned this out, to end up exactly where you're at right now, and that is to have space between two places, and push the FAA to get the space in between the fields. So congratulations on your work with them to do that.
Yeah, you can't deny that phase 3 is needed. All right, moving on, the next exciting project we have is the landside improvement project. The monthly need and pavement rehabilitation project that addresses numerous roads outside the fence. Additionally, ADA upgrades are going to be incorporated into the rehab strategies. A lot of the roads that we're going to be addressing are the roads that lead into the GA hangars. Some of the roads, like on Terminal Drive here, we're just going to do a slurry seal, some minor rehab work. But there's some roads that are going to need a little bit more than that. That image on your top right, that is Liberator Street. That asphalt is heat up to a point where you can probably call that gravel. And so roads like that, we're going to do a full reconstruction. This is the project that we brought to the board last year. And so as progress update, we have the topographic survey done, the geotechnical investigation done. Right now, we're just working out the phasing for the project. We want to make sure we have access to the airport. This is definitely going to be a multi-phase project, but exciting for not only the terminal area and parking lot, but a heavy focus on GA roads.
Dumb question.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different varieties, as you more than I do, of type of paving. Some is more flexible, some have got constituents in it that make it stronger, et cetera. What's the chance of getting really long-term paving on this instead of shorter term stuff that we've had that's now crumbling?
Why are you referring to concrete?
No.
So I think I have an answer. So this road right here is about 2 inches of asphalt with 3 or 4 inches of base. We're gonna reconstruct that with 8 inches of base and 4 inches of asphalt, or we're gonna do a concrete compacted subgrade with asphalt on top. So the section on the roads that we're gonna design are gonna last longer and be deeper than the ones that are currently out.
Thank you, because I know there's been some advances in road coverage for over the last few years. I hope we use the best. Oh, thank you.
Sean, how much? Might be like,
Oh. Yeah, so there's a question about, our estimate right now for construction is between 2.3 and $2.6 million.
I think to the board member's question about, hardy asphalt, you might be referring to some of the polymer modified asphalt that are now available. They go into the hot mix and they tend to last a little longer. They can be spendy. The next project is a completed project, but it's recently completed and it's good to talk about it. It was the runway 20 display threshold projects. The runway 20 was shortened a couple hundred feet to remove the runway protection zone, the RPZ, off of some of the vacant property between Skyway Drive and Airport Drive. The project included removing markings, putting down a slurry seal at the threshold 20 and applying new markings. And included in there was the relocation and replacement of one hold positions on. The cost of that project was about $250,000, and it is a completed project. Talk about a diverse facility, this Santa Maria Airport District. The next project is mobile home park utility upgrades. I've had the pleasure of doing 3 mobile home park utility upgrade projects, and they're very unique. They're very personal to the tenants in there. We're invading their space for a few weeks, a few months. In this particular case, the district is receiving or has received a grant to address the electrical utility. Is that correct, Rick?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gas and electric. Currently, out of the mobile home park, the gas and electric are master metered with sub meters in all tenant spaces. And this new system will put individual utility level meters at each space. In addition to that, while the project is majorly disruptive to the site, the water system has not been touched in 35 years, 40 years. And over the last 2 winters, there's been many phone calls and complaints to the board, to the staff about flooding in and around some of the areas, and particularly around the laundry room area. The project would be incorporated with the electrical and natural gas upgrades. We would include sewer as well. I forgot about sewer upgrades, water upgrades, and storm drainage. This is a very early project in its development. Current estimate is between 2 and 3 million. But again, part of that is going to be that's an addition to the grant part. We have done some site reconnaissance, and we are scheduling a topographic survey to kick this project off. It's going to be an interesting project. It'll be a good project.
Do we know who the third party that's?
Yeah, SoCal Gas.
Sold gas.
All right. The end.
I've got one last question for you. Since that's a little bit isolated from the rest of the airport, what's your view, what's your thoughts on putting solar power out there to reduce the demand on the airport grid system?
That's a complex question. You're tying it to a mobile home park. You can have that question related to the mobile home park, or you can have it related to the airport in general.
There's a mobile home park, what we're talking about here.
Mobile home park. I think if you can get some subsidies, if you can get some grants, it might be right in line. Like we were pursuing. I don't know if the airport district participates in the cost of power for the tenants. So I don't know if you have a part of that equation. So there might not be a return to you for that investment.
I'm worried more about the load on the airport area grid when things get stressed. And the mobile home park has got its own power supply, renewable power supply, that can operate without us. And we reduce that load that we are reliable, that we now have on the current grid. Excuse me, somebody there, but make it independent, energy independent place from us.
It's an interesting idea. You might also entertain that directly back at yourself. Put yourself on that solar and realize the benefit of that investment.
I'm looking forward to a couple megawatts of solar here eventually that we get through all this stuff.
Perfect. Again, Jason and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the projects at the airport. We do feel many of these projects, as we've described, are grant eligible. Staff seems to be in a position where they are continuously adapting and reevaluating the ACIPs, primarily due to the prolonged suspension of the grant program. Deciding whether you don't go on some of these projects on your own, or whether you perhaps wait for resolution of that
and then a reopening up of the grant program.
We're here, as you know, we're here to answer any questions or provide any direction that you like. Thank you very much.
And one last parting comment, I really appreciate this, it's overdue, and, you've got my full support, but I gotta say one thing. The Golden Gate Bridge does not cost as much as all of this.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, I will be opening up public session for this item since we have a Kevin Weeks here.
Thank you, board and members of the airport staff. So this has made the agenda here for the last couple of sessions. We've been trying to get some equity for a few months due to the cost of the leaky roof and flooding at a facility that our craft is trying to run a business with. And not really sure where there was no vote on the abatement request that we had filed a petition for. So I guess I put it to the board. What's the decision there?
President Rubio, this is not an agenda item. It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, so that's fine. So we'll be, swearing in.
So is this agenda item strictly limited to just a conversation about the failing roof?
Right.
Okay, well, I guess I've already got the answer then from John.
Okay, we'll go back into, our discussion direction of staff regarding the failing roof on the main hangar located at 3203 Lightning Street, San Diego, California, 455.
I believe this is just for the board to determine if you want us to go out to bid on this project or not. There's a memo from John and then the board packet that you can look at. Yeah, we're looking for direction on whether you want us to, this is the engineer's estimate, we're looking for direction on whether you want us to go out and bid today.
This part of definitely go out on bid for this.
I absolutely agree. Would we, do we do authorization or roll call, or is that enough?
I think direction is enough, correct? They directed us to go out to bid on it?
Yes.
They don't need that.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Get it in, let's go.
Show the road. Okay, moving on to item number 8, discussion and direction of staff regarding a late study.
So the staff is proposing that we get a third party to do a rate study on all of the buildings and, lease properties on the airport. We would bring somebody in, we have some feelers out to see who will be able to do that, but, our auditors can help us with that. They do rate studies usually for utilities, but other airports have done them, and that's what we would like to do. Come and evaluate what our rents are and what they should be.
What's the cost of the rate study?
That's a good question that I do not have an answer for. I'm very sorry. We're just asking for direction on if you would like us to go out for a rate study at this point. And then we will come back to you with a contract for how much that will be.
Well, I think I'd say yes. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and consideration of ad hoc committees and liaisons and membership and assignments.
Yes.
So, given the past few meetings, it's apparent that there is a pretty large disconnect between the general aviation community and the board. So, as I mentioned to a few of you at the last meeting, I would like to create a committee that primarily focuses on communicating with you guys once a month or however many times we need to. So that would be this. So I would like to create a committee that's primarily focused on general aviation, on the general aviation community at the airport. I would like to remove Clayton from the real estate and put Chuck back into that. Have Clayton and I work with the general aviation community moving forward. So. Sounds good.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Do we need a resolution for that, or? I think it's just a little one, everybody appointed? So there we go. Moving on to item number 10, I will be, resolution 932, a resolution of the Board of Directors of San Diego Public Airport District rescinding resolution 902. I'm going to open up this up to public session. We do have, Chrissy.
Christy Cronin, Lieutenant in the Santa Maria Airport. Good evening, President Marino, Director Baskin, and Board. This statement is in regards to rescinding Resolution 902, non-airworthy aircraft rate increase to 40% effective July 2nd, 2024, item 10 on the agenda. I am a resident of Santa Maria and pay all types of taxes to Santa Barbara County in the state of California. Just wanted you to know that, I know that there's been questions of people from out of the area. I've paid rent on a hangar to the Santa Maria Airport District since 1987. That is 37 years of rent monies paid, and there have been many, many increases in rent during those years. Under the current resolution, hangar tenants with non-airworthy aircraft will now be paying a 50% increase, plus a 40% increase. If they have a non-airworthy aircraft, it will now be a 90% increase. This is an extreme and unfair amount of assessment, whether their plane is flying or not. I'm sure most pilots want to fly their aircraft and are working hard to make their planes airworthy. Should not be a penalty. There is not a company that I know of that institutes a 90% immediate increase on their product or services, unless they want to lose all their customers or sell their products. It makes no business sense. To my knowledge, airport tenants, at least grazing land, mobile home park tenants, and other airport tenants have not had these types of increases in their rent. At the board meeting on April 25th, 2024, board members Mr. Brown and Mr. Adams stated that if the 50% increase was approved, they would consider elimination of the non-airworthy increase. That would be most appreciated. I am asking and pleading that the board please rescind resolution 902, the non-airworthy 40% rate increase, and to readdress, reconsider, and try to find a more equitable percentage pertaining to resolution 930 and eliminate the 50% increase. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chrissy. Okay, I'm gonna close session now, and go into discussion. You guys, anything?
You know, what they did last week, we brought our hangers up to market rate. You know, the original idea was airworthy was the fact that airplane out that were flying, that were active and everything else. Where we had a hangar, we had a hangar rate that was way below us. I mean, being as a change of market rate, I mean, I would support it.
I say we rescind 902.
Okay, let's go ahead and get a roll call vote.
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Abstain because of in that area.
Director Baskin,
No.
Director Clayton.
Now, a yes vote means we're rescinding. Correct. 902, so that we
The
don't,
non-airworthy.
so we don't have to worry about the airworthy or not.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
But on there was-
So the yes vote.
So I'm voting to get rescind that so that we don't have
A
to.
yes rescinds it, a no. does.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 11, resolution 933, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Santa Maria Public Airport District adopting the appropriations subject to limitation for fiscal year 2024-2025 under California Constitution Article as letters, as amended and implementing statuses.
Thank you, Mr. President. This I will have to sit before the public for 2 weeks before we can approve it.
Okay. Actually. Two weeks to the next agenda.
I believe so. Is that right, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 12, authorization for the general manager to attend the FAA Airports Conference to be held June 11th and 13th, 2024, to be held in Redondo Beach, California.
I don't think I get second out you, I think our relationship is important to know.
Absolutely. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 13, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the service agreement between the district and Mead and Hunt for air service development consulting services.
Thank you, Mr. President. That agreement is in your packet. And that recommend you approve that.
I think we're going to approve it. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 14, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the service agreement between the district and Tartali Engineering for the landside improvement project.
I'll make a motion for.
We have a motion.
I'll second. I'm gonna say no.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Authorization for tuition reimbursement for one staff member.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have an employee who is pursuing their bachelor's degree and the district pays for education. And she has completed the class with an A, I believe.
I'm happy to see your high 3-point average, and I make a motion.
And before we make any motions, just one comment, in the future, when they make, I'm all good, agreeable with this, but I would like to see the person who's actually making the request come up and make the request themselves, so we can see where we're going with it, that's all. Yeah, that's all, I just see in the future that whoever's asking for the reimbursement comes in and tells us what they're doing. And when we're benefiting from it, that's all. But I agree, John. You're doing an excellent job.
Well, you're great, and she's doing well.
Very good.
So we have a motion. Did I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 16, resolution 934, a resolution of the board of directors of the Santa Maria Public Airport District establishing and adopting the home built aircraft progress goals policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to memorialize the fact that we have some home-built aircraft and the progress and goals are not outlined and are not required to be outlined. And we'd like to see, we'd like to assist them in that and get them information in order to let us know how they're progressing with their home-built aircraft.
I have a question on that. The old agreement is that once a year, the aircraft being constructed gets inspection from the airport, to see what the project is. How do we need to add another layer of goals on top of that?
The pictures we're receiving from the tenants are not changing.
What you're looking at, a 4-year finalization.
Yes.
Start to finish.
And it's not a requirement. If someone has a different goals, way to measure goals, they can provide that to the district and we'll accept it. This is just a document that will assist someone in help and letting us know what their goals are. But if the tenant has a goal already in mind, we will review that as well.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution. I'm trying to figure out if we're getting rid of 902 and now worried about whether the planes fly or not. What are we doing? What are we doing with this? Well, it goes to show that if you're building an airplane, that you have progress with it. Where it's moving forward. Then she said, it's flexible, but.
So
you could have a London's payment, you could have a, let's say, you're building an aircraft and you just have a piece of metal up there, and you say that you're building it. The goal is to eventually get it to be flying at some point in its life. Unless you monitor that, you have no way of getting it there. Like I said,
At this point, so we're not concerned whether the plane flies or not at this point, right?
but most of the planes will come in and will fly.
I think this is for some people who want to run anchor that are running anchor specifically for home building their own airplane. This is just a formalization of their, figure out their project scope. Or how with their project scope. If they have a project scope, we should do it.
Okay, we have more planes out there flying, why not?
So, okay, so it's a resolution, so let's go ahead and get a roll call.
President Ryan,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Yeah.
Director Baskin,
I'll say no, I think it's unnecessary at this time, when we have other ways to check on them, and people want to build airplanes, so I'll say no.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 17, approval of the Santa Maria Public Airport District hangar lease eligibility and use policy as amended.
This will allow, this allows, more, groups to become hangar tenants. Okay, the flying club or corporate ownership, the FAA certificate of aircraft, with the flying club. So flying clubs can join now, they aren't able to do that. And, the leased aircraft, if it's a leased aircraft, they can also join the waiting list. So we increased that,
So adding more.
added more availability to the hangar list for additional groups.
I'll make a motion to support that. Have a motion?
Second.
Go ahead, have a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 18, approval of the Santa Maria Public Airport District hangar waitlist policy as, oh, I'm sorry. This is the second one? Yeah, no, this is the one. Approval of Santa Maria Public Airport District hangar waitlist policy as amended, May 23rd, 2024.
So that's what we discussed about, yeah,
That's the same. Yeah.
that's the same one.
Same, okay. Moving on to item 19, approval of the Santa Maria Public Airport District hangar space lease agreement as amended, May 23rd. Do we have a question?
Yeah, that is on your iPad. It's got, it's the same thing with, including flying clubs and leased aircraft. And incorporating the home built information that we just went over originally.
Gotcha, so this is all just one.
Yeah, and it's the red language. If you looked at your lease, it shows you all the changes.
Understood, okay.
Also will require a security deposit for tenants that don't have one at this time.
Okay. Understood. But that was already included with the previous one.
No, I think
No.
it's a different.
Yeah, this is the hangar lease. You approved the waiting list and now this is the hangar lease.
Okay.
Got all the high, we've also added some requirements about animals in the hangars so that we.
Mr. President, may I suggest that we revisit? So I think there are three related documents. So there's one, which is the hangar lease eligibility and use policy. The second one is the hangar waitlist policy. The changes in those two documents are similar. I believe the board took action on 17, which is the lease eligibility and use policy. So I recommend the board go to number 18, which is the waitlist policy as amended, which will make the same changes that we're having in flying clubs. And
Well, to the wait list.
That's correct. That's correct.
Next
So-
item.
And then we'll go to the lease, but I suggest we take action on item 18 first, and then we can go to that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve it.
You have a motion for item 18?
No, second.
You have a second for item 18. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now moving on to item number 19, approval of the Santa Maria Public Airport District hangar space lease agreement as amended, May 23rd, 2024.
Again, I will just add to what Mr. Reed said is right now, I believe the leases, they're just not harmonized. We have, again, you have many different hangar tenants. There are certain clauses that go in. The security deposit, just notice, is $250, which again, is not something to sneeze at, but it's not, we're not asking for 6 months rent. But the objective here is to harmonize the leases so that your staff can know and manage these leases in a uniform manner and save yourselves time and resources.
Good question. What's current hangar empty, how many empty hangars do we have right now?
I'm not sure of that figure.
I'm not sure what does that have to do with this one?
That's the question. We're talking about hangars and hangar leases and wants to know how many.
Certainly, if I have the information, I can provide it to you. I just don't have the information.
So we don't know how many empty hangars we have and how many people we have. I think the changes, I read those are mostly red lines and then added on. I think they're reasonable and I'm the motion for it.
Yeah, we have a motion for.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Okay, now we will take a 10-minute or 5-minute break for closed session. Thank you. Thank you.